So, good evening. Welcome to the Friday Study Circle. And before we begin, let's just take a few moments to be fully present, be with ourselves here. We can focus on our breath or do anything else that helps us just become more centered and present. Invoking Mother's presence and praying that we are able to see more than we already see. Thank you. So we are doing passages from the Sunlit path, and last time we were doing this passage on religions. We had not completed it fully. We were in the middle. Right, Captain? So maybe we can just take the whole passage and then we'll discuss on the last part, but we'll just read it fully. It was a very good passage. Captain, I'm right? This is what we were, you remember? I think you're on mute if you're sharing.
Last time we were told that we will repeat this.
Yes, so we'll just repeat the religion. We'll go through it.
Okay.
And we'll take the questions. Thank you. Would you like to read it?
And the first chapter, I think, first para I'll read. I think then we can have some discussion on that.
I think, okay, yeah, whatever, if you feel that way, then yeah, you can read the first para, then we reflect.
Yeah.
And
Religion belongs to the higher mind of humanity. It is the effort of man's higher mind to approach, as far as lies in its power, something beyond it, something to which humanity gives the name God or spirit or truth or faith or knowledge or the infinite, some kind of absolute which the human mind cannot reach and yet tries to reach. Religion may be divine in its ultimate origin. In its actual nature, it is not divine but human. In truth, we should speak rather of religions than of religion. For the religions made by men are many.
yes, thank you.
Should I continue?
Monica, basically, we were here, you were not there, so I thought that for your
Yeah,
reflection.
yeah, but I think it's good to continue, please. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. The first established and formal religions runs always. Mine is the supreme, the only truth. All others are in falsehood or inferior. For without this fundamental dogma, established cradle religions could not have existed. If you do not believe and proclaim that you alone possess the one or the highest truth, you will not be able to impress people and make them flock to you. This attitude is natural to the religious mind. But it is just that which make religions stand in the articles and dogmas of religion are mind-made things, and if you cling to them and shut yourself up, you do not know and cannot know the truth of the spirit. that lies beyond all codes and dogmas, wide and large and free. When you stop at a religious creed and tie yourself in it, taking it for the only truth in the world, you stop the advance and widening of your inner soul. But if you look at religion from another angle, it need not always be an obstacle to all men. If you regard it as one of the higher activities of humanity, and if you can see in it the aspirations of man without ignoring the imperfection of all man-made things, it may well be a kind of help for you to approach the spiritual life. Taking it up in a serious and earnest spirit, you can try to find out what truth is there, what aspiration lies behind, hidden in it, what divine inspiration has undergone transformation and deformation here by the human mind and the human organization. And with an appropriate mental stand, you can get religion even as it is to throw some light on your way and to lead some support to your spiritual endeavors.
Thank you so much. So just briefly reflecting, what comes to me when I've just read this again, it's just about us being flexible, right? Plastic, as they say. That, the intentions initially for most of the things, and we see that in ourselves, right? That the intention is pure. That's why it started with saying that the religion is for the higher mind, of the higher mind. But it doesn't remain that way, because whenever we get connected to something, somehow there's something in us, the lower nature, the limitedness, although no matter how unlimited we might have become, and yet because there is that limited, that sticky nature, this thing that if I am doing it, it's the best, or this is the only way. So then the dogmas and the practices and the cultism, comes. And when we see that, it repulses, right? For some, it becomes very attractive and they sit on it and start boasting. And for others, it starts repulsing that, no, this can't be it. So what I see here is that there's no need for repulsion, right? You see what was it, why was it born? You go to the roots. Like a Nanak would not have wanted a separate religion. He said all are one. So why would he want another religion? But here we are, right? Like with so much pomp and whistle, we'll create another one that, he said everybody is one. Here's our religion and this is the best. And, this will triumph and everything else will die. So that's me doing it. But that wasn't Nanak doing it. And when I am, say, looking at the religion or the mystic, that's what I should be looking at, because otherwise it's my limitedness that I can't see beyond, right? I can just see what I can see, just hear what I can hear, and I cannot connect to the spirit with which something was built, which is unlimited. So let me not stop, is what I hear. Let me be open, no matter whatever I confront, that there has to be more, there must be more. Yeah, that was my basic understanding. Yes, please, welcoming reflection.
I think these last lines are also quite speaking what you were, initially what you started with, that let us see more than we already see. So I think just this ability to see things, what mother shares, that that if we have the right seeing and earnest spirit, then we can see that, oh, the intention was good, but see what human deformation or distortion has done. And it is very obvious if we, look honestly in many, many institutions. And then again, as you were sharing, that we can take what is right and true for me and leave the rest. Like, Saint Kabir says that only take the crux and essence of the matter, what mother is sharing here, that even in that distorted form there will be something for me, what you were sharing. So just to take that, and also to see that how distorted our minds and egos are, that this is what gets done ultimately, in the final, not really final product, but we form again divisions, subdivisions, and the stickiness that you were talking of. uh, yeah, it becomes like a part of my identity, and now I don't want to let go of it, otherwise who will be I without this identity? So that cultism that you were talking of, yeah, so one just sees that distortion as it is, and that's it. I mean, that's my learning, to see the distortion. Yeah. And even in the, I think, the most cultist of religions or sects, one can still get the truth there. So that's very important. Yes. And hence I think it's like an onus on me also, that if having divisive mind as mine, limited mind as mine, this is what gets done. And of course it's not that beautiful. At least I can become more open, wide, and flexible. Yeah. So I think again, great gratitude to these things that that are shown to us, that because of that ugliness out there, I recognize the ugly within, and then can embark upon purifying that. Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that view out the window, because it's very, it's like, say again, because it's very fresh to me. I'd gone to a Gurdwara, and what the person was saying, I was sitting there very calmly. And then when he started talking about, how it is the best and how it will rule and all others will perish and all, I suddenly started dissociating. But the thing is that, I don't know, first of all, like we were discussing, that is not it, right? That's his perception. But what you just pointed out, that what he's doing is also very important, right? Because of him, the Gurdwara is there. It's his energy, the main person's. So that's also means to an end, right? It's creating something. So now it's up to me in what essence I take it, and I could not do what he's doing. So if I sit on my high horse and say that, see, I know what Nanak said, and look at him. So that's just me being small. Or and the other thing is, I can be grateful for what he could do. And then I pick up what I want to pick up, what I can pick up, and take it from there. Because his contribution is also very significant. And if it was me, I would not be able to leave my home and go and manage that 24 hours, in a like in a new country. So yeah.
This reminds me what somebody asked the mother about a few people who were like, there are people who have, even amongst us, I may be one of them. There are people who are a bit obnoxious, one can say, to some eyes, and they are next to a very divine person. We have seen, like, next to a master would be a very highly obnoxious person. So somebody asked the mother that, that this person is like that, and still you allow him to be almost like your, a few people allow them to be like your guard, almost, like a fence. Why? Because actually the way they may talk, or the arrogance with which they may talk, it can just shoo away many people, right? They may not want to enter. So mother said something, again I'll try to find the exact lines and anecdote. Mother says that actually it is good, because it gives us, if I'm coming to mother, and if I get stopped right at the door just because that person is obnoxious, then better I go away. But if irrespective of that person, I go in and try to meet with the mother, and because my dedication or whatever the devotion with which I'm coming. So that's what mother shared, that it keeps fake people in check who really just for the fun of it want to enter, something like that. So yeah, I think there is something there also. Mm. I remember what Acharya Prashant used to share, that if you are getting stopped by anyone who says, "Oh, stop here," not the right path, then you never even started. So you must have that conviction that no matter how many obstacles on the way, but I know this is the path for me. So I think these second thoughts and people like that really help us to become more convinced whether that's the path for me. Yeah.
Yes, any reflections? Please unmute and share.
The other day I was remembering Swami Vivekanand in the Chicago address, World Religious Conference. Like initially, he was not finding the way how to go there, but when he was destined to go there, then after that he saw a lot of religious heads of the world present there. And before his turn came, he has already seen exactly what mother mentions here. Mine is the supreme and the only truth, and all others are falsehood or inferior. So that sort of feeling he already sensed with all this. So within 3 minutes or 5 minutes of his first address to the gathering, and he told that story, the frog in the well. And so everybody came to know that this, then nobody thought of such thing actually. This is actually the today we are in. And that is in 1893. He has very clearly, he has narrated this story. So, and even today also we can see everywhere. If you go there to whether you go to church or whether you go to any prayer hall or something and all this. So there we get the indication that yes, I am the only truth. What I have heard or learned or sensed or I have the knowledge is only this. This is the truth. So so that was one which I was remembering. Even uh, the other day I was going through about Shirdi Sai Baba. Shirdi Sai Baba says, "Sabka Malik Ek." So what the Guru Nanak Ji said exactly the same thing, like Sabka Malik Ek. Whether so all the realized person, those who have realized God or they have realized self, so they are saying the same thing. Ramakrishna Paramahansa in very simple language here says, it is like a water in a pond, and you have selected, there are many ghats, there are many steps have been made, various. So that person who is taking water, Hindi person or Muslim man is saying that I'm collecting pani, and koi Bengali chap is saying I'm collecting jal, and some English man is saying I'm collecting water. So, but exactly everybody is collecting that water. Means that pani or water or whatever. Somebody is telling it is aqua. We call it by various names, and we believe that yes, I am right and I am wrong, or means others are wrong or something. So that was, I think every religious, every realized persons probably has told us this in some form or other. And so this was coming to my mind that they all are saying the same thing actually in uh, various forums or in the various forms. Uh, so it is one. It's one. So thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you even for the reminder. It's like when in that conference, I think it was in, I don't know, late 1800s, when everybody is there saying that my religion is superior. There, a Vivekananda goes and says that, brothers and sisters of America, like we are all one. And that is why even 100 of years later, that speech is referred to, it's remembered. Sometimes you meet people like, outside India, and they know that, okay, I don't know much, but I know about, say, Swami Vivekananda, that speech is very famous. So even that, just that changing the dimension, that when 15 people are saying that I am superior, one stand and says that, no, are we not all one? So how much it shakes us, that's so beautiful. And it tells us how the truth, it kind of trims.
That was the same speech actually which I was referring. He delivered this landmark speech on 11th September 1893. So we remember 9/11, but nobody remembers this 9/11.
Yeah.
In 9/11, throughout the world, again and again, it has been reminded by the US that that this has happened, torture of the humankind. Whereas he has given the light on 11th of September 1893 itself. And he knew that this is the most educated society in the world on that day. So that's why if anything has been told in their language, those who are educated people in their language, probably the things will be understood better and it will spread. That was the idea of going to that place. Otherwise, what was the need there? The truth, even today, that the Ramakrishna missions which are there, they're saying the same things actually which Vivekananda has propagated. It's not, they're not discovering anything new, and which are all there in Bhagavad Gita. These are there in Upanishads, and all this he has narrated, but in the scientific way, because we were in the age of science. So he has narrated in that language, such that they could understand easily, those who are interested. And in the first sentence itself, he says the sisters and brothers of America. And that itself, there are a couple of minutes I was telling that actually people, the standing ovation actually. People have never realized that the whole world is one family. And that also the sisters are the first. He has uttered sisters first. Then nobody has done that. We normally say ladies and gentlemen, we say like majority of the places. And if ladies are not there, then you say, good morning, gentlemen, and we start off. But here, he says just brother. Brother means nothing can be. Like when I was reading Sanskrit in my college, the school, the Sanskrit sloka, there's one sloka that was known as Deshe Deshe Kalatrani Deshe Deshe Chaubandhava Tangtu Deshang Na Pashami Jatru Bhrata Sahodar. You go from country to country, and you can find ladies and you can find so many other relations. But you will not find a country where you will find your Sahodar means same brother from some mother. We got the brothers actually. So that is so important. And he has said only this, just say sisters. And the people, they didn't know actually. All the religious heads and the common people, those are sitting there, they're gathering. So they were spellbound actually. And they were giving the clap for 2 minutes. Now there's some duplicate type of this thing is available on net, but they say that this is not truth actually. But some Vivekananda's voice they have copied and something, or somebody has tried to make some this thing. It is available in the net. The, brothers and sisters and brothers of America. And on that day after this only he told the story that frog in the well.
On this, there are very nice talks, a series of talks by Dr. Alok Pandey on Sanatan Dharma. Maybe some of us may already know. And there he talks about this how Sanatan Dharma, which Swami Vivekananda was referring to, that how it is all encompassing. It takes in all the religion, like rivers going and merging into that ocean. So he refers to Sanatan Dharma, eternal religion, as that one religion which inclusive which is inclusive of all other religions. And that's why you were, the thing that you were sharing, brothers and sisters, because it's all like all the streams are, coming and then coming into this one Sanatan Dharma. So it's a very inspiring series of talks available on YouTube by Oroma. So if you type Sanatan Dharma, Alok Pandey, I think you will get it. Or maybe some of us maybe subscribe to Oroma, they will know. About 19 talks are there.
During those days, India was considered really backwards, right, in general. And in that forum, for somebody to come and actually say something like this, right, brothers and sisters, kind like, that we are all one. And the fact that everybody received it is very powerful in general. That so should we move further or should
Yeah, I think we can, if there is nothing more.
it's yoga and religion. So if anybody is willing, they can unmute and please read this passage.
Yeah, I think you can go ahead, Tarun.
Okay. So yoga and religion. A sweet mother, what is the difference between yoga and religion? Ah, my child, it is as though you were asking me the difference between a dog and a cat. Imagine someone who, in some way or other, has heard of something like the divine or has a personal feeling that something of the kind exists and begins to make all sort of efforts of will, of discipline, efforts of concentration, all sorts of effort to find the divine, to discover what he is, to become acquainted with him and unite with him. Then this person is doing yoga. Now, if this person has noted down all the processes he has used and constructs a fixed system and sets up all that he has discovered as absolute laws. For example, he says, the divine is like this. To find the divine, you must do this. Make this particular gesture, take this attitude, perform this ceremony, and you must admit that this is the truth. You must say, I accept that this is the truth and I fully adhere to it. And your method is the only right one, the only one which exists. If all that is written down, organized, arranged into fixed laws and ceremonies, it becomes a religion. I wonder how things can be put down so simply. Wow.
I think rigidity is the word which is kind of coming out, for whatever sects, cults, religions. And how Sri Aurobindo talks about that in, to make the mind vast, supple, flexible, open, wide. So it's just the opposite, how the religions have become, just the opposite of that. And I think rigidity, even in day to day life, it's like a recipe for disaster, in day to day interactions and relationships, workplace. Wherever we have rigidity, there is suffering, clashes, ego clashes of all sorts. Yeah, very interesting. And to this, I think Einstein's theory of relativity, somehow can connect that everything is relative. Everything is, yeah. He also admits of something higher and then knowing that everything is relative. So that's also, I think I can connect that here. And I think that the more we progress on the path, somehow we see in our own personal journey that everything has been relative. At times we may have been very rigidly associated with, yes, this is the path, this is the path. Then that was a phase. It gave us something and then it went. Then something else came and then we said, "No, this is the path, this is the path." Then again that also gave us something. Maybe we unlearned something, took up something, gave us something, and then evolved us, let go, and again. So I think when we have gone through many such experiences, then whenever something new comes, then we can't say, no, this is the path, this is the path, because again, that everything is relative, and in relative degrees, everything has its own benefit, and then, yeah, moving on, moving on. Yeah. And I think it's also looking at our own experiences, it brings compassion when one looks at other people who may be rigid right now. Because haven't I been rigid? At times I have been so rigid and strongly, intensely, like for something and against something. And when I see that outwardly in somebody, then I know that it's a passing phase. It's just like how I was there, or I may be there. Still one goes on, moves on.
In fact, the correct word, rigidity, as you said. And if we start searching seriously, like in my case, discipline is the first time in the school. In that school, that English was not there. So when I heard the discipline, because we use this word everywhere, but I wanted to know what is discipline, what actually means the discipline I wanted to have. And that is one of the reason that I joined defense forces, because I was told that soldiers are very disciplined. So what is discipline? Any subject on discipline I used to read, and I used to ask somebody who will answer something or something. So still today I'm searching on it, but I have not become the authority for saying the discipline or giving a lecture or anything of this nature. So as you were rightly saying that the Einstein is the theory of relativity. On the religious side, I mean, if you really think of it, uh, what we are saying on day-to-day basis, everything, these are all relative. It is my thought process, and I feel that this is correct. It has come from me. I have read few pages of something, and all this, I feel that I have done something greater than somebody else. I feel that person has not read in front of me, whoever is sitting or standing, and I know the truth. I know the truth. They say, no, half knowledge is dangerous. Little bit we gain, and that ego thing comes in, and they do not allow us to proceed further. Because now I have learned enough. I know. I know. You need not to tell me. So that sort of thing comes, and we get satisfied with that. That is, if you're sincere uh, in anything in any field, I think the sincerity will lead us somewhere else. It cannot be deviated in any other field, and we'll be able to find the truth. What exactly is the truth? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Captain. I
Yeah,
think the rigidity in some way, sorry, rigidity in some way also kind of is somewhat, somewhere related to a bit of stubbornness also. And again, like we were discussing before, that has been useful too. Like sometimes when we get just stick to something that has its positives, so not forgetting that, and yet to be able to leave if it's the right thing to do, if it's for my welfare, then that one has to have that opening that, okay, because, I'm say, like George of the jungle, or how it's like Tarzan, Mowgli, going from one tree to the other, swinging on that thing. And if he doesn't leave, he'll either just keep hanging, or he'll fall, or he'll just hit the tree, right? He has to leave at that exact moment and then catch the next one. So that there's something there, right? That the art of holding and letting go, and keep moving forward. Yes, please.
Sorry. Is I was remembering the services selection board when anybody wanted to join the armed forces. There's a services selection board. So this exercise is there. Like one rope is hanging, you have to swing in that, and then you jump in one place. Then you have to hold another one, and you have to swing and cross that ditch, whichever has been made. So it is, if you miss one, and that is the end of it. Actually, you will win the dish. So it is so perfect. Like in circus, we used to say this. Actually, we used to see, that rope games. That one rope is coming, and you have to leave that, and you have to catch that other one. And the other person who is coming from this side, other girl, and she will catch that this side one and leave that other one. So it is so perfectly tuned, and also they must be practicing for years together or something. So it has become so perfect. But the problem with us is we are not in a position to forget. Then now this is the time I have to leave this, and now this is the path which I have to. And then we can move in the path correctly. Like somebody was mentioning about the lawyer. There are 4 cases has been on that day. He has to fight one lawyer 4 different times on the same day. And when he is representing the first one, and if somebody says about the second and third, he says, I don't know anything. Please don't ask me now. And so I will not be able to. When he is representing the second one, if somebody asks about the first case or the third case, so he will say that, sorry, he or she, whoever is the lawyer. And because they are in the subject matter totally. So similarly here, uh, if I have got some inspiration, or I have decided something that yes, I will move in this path. But later on, I found that which I was so far thought of is wrong. So I have to forgo that, and this is the now correct. As per me, I have corrected myself. So this is the correct path. So again, that ego factor comes in, and they say, no, you have been doing for all these days. I say, how can it be wrong? It has come from you only, and you have taken this path. How can it be wrong? Something from inside mind. The mind is telling that yes. So once we understand that it is wrong, it is not giving me any purpose, then probably I have to forgo that, and I have to renew my effort on some other directions. Thank you.
I think as you were sharing earlier, that each thing in our life has a purpose. So not to forget that, because even when, when I say that no, that was wrong, again, now I may say that was wrong, but then it was serving me some purpose. So I think it's like ladder to ladder, step by step, step by step, step by step, and there is no end to this stepping up or going on, not only up but going on, moving forward. And also this helps me to somehow not hold my thoughts and opinions that tightly anymore. I can't take my thoughts and feelings so seriously as I may used to do it earlier, because since I know that my perspective is changing, I'm looking at now more windows, then more keep on coming up, the other keeps on closing, down. So then one can't take oneself or one's opinions and ideas that seriously that one begins to have a war, up to with somebody regarding that. And that's how we have clashes in, you know, when we are talking, discussing about things, many a times you end up in a clash. We say that let us agree to disagree because there is a wall and you just can't, move forward. Yeah. So yeah, just knowing that it's just like an ever widening process that we are at. And even when you were talking of that holding a rope and get then jumping to next, otherwise you fall into a ditch. I think now with mother's prayers and meditations we see that even in the ditch there is learning. So we are so safe, like there is a net in the ditch also. And some learning, some growth will be there through that ditchly experience also. So it's like a win-win situation for each one of us, no matter how ignorant we may be, yet there is a win-win situation. Yeah.
Absolutely, it is correct. Like even in the circus also, they put a net. So initially, who was practicing, they must have had a fall. So then again, you are falling in the net, and again you can go up and practice. Actually. Definitely, so there is a learning in this. Like one psychologist says, the child when from crawling stage wanted to stand up and run. So what has happened is trying to stand with some support or something and all, again falling. So again trying to stand second time and again falling. So somebody is telling if we do a thing again and again, then it becomes a habit. The psychologist is telling no, it is not the habit. The intention was to run, not to fall. This is accidentally the child is falling because still that balance has not come or something else. But he is learning every step. Every step, maybe 20 times the child has fallen, but on 21st time the child will succeed in standing. And maybe 100th time, 100 steps when the child crosses, they may be able to run actually. Because the child may fall at that stage also, but that was not that aim. But it is happening. So you cannot say that if we do a thing and falling again and again and again, it becomes a habit. So it is not so. That intention has to be seen.
Yeah.
What do you want?
That day I was sharing a few lines on success and failure from Savitri. There was some talk by Dr. Alok Pandey, and so firstly he brought about these few lines from Savitri where Sri Aurobindo shares that there is nothing called failure, and all the failures summed up together are actually success. So that, and then he shared a story of from Greek mythology, two fellows. Again, I have no knowledge, but whatever I heard, I'm just sharing. Uh, Daedalus and Icarus, and so Daedalus is the father, and I think they are somewhere they are trapped, like maybe caged or trapped, and now they have to get out of that trap, and he decides that let us make wings. Now before that nobody has thought that okay, we can fly. So he's thinking of flying, and what he does is that he collects lots of feathers from different birds, and he uses bee wax to join those feathers to their shoulders. And now both of them are ready. The father also and Icarus also is ready with the feathers. And now all that they have to do is fly with these feathers. But then it's bee wax and it can melt. So Daedalus says that be careful, don't fly too high, because if you go too close to the sun, then it may just melt the wax and you can, yeah, lose the feathers. But fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know, since I don't know the whole story, Icarus flies too high and he's not able to make through. So the wings fall down, the bee wax is melting, and then he drops dead in the ocean, which now is called Icarus Sea, somewhere close to Greece. So that was very interesting. So basically, he was sharing that uh, we may we may think that who started flying. So the first thought that comes to us is Wright brothers who created the first plane. But then he says no. When the first man thought of flying, he may have fallen. What, like you were sharing, the child falls. He may have fallen, but the intention was to fly. That something impossible right now can happen, will happen. So that was, we can trace it actually back to that. It may appear as a failure there, that, oh, see, you could not fly, but his thought and idea of flying and all the failures, so called failures, they actually ultimately led to all the corrections and wanting perfection, and ultimately creating a design where it can actually happen. So that's how he was sharing that all those failures summed up together are actually success. But since we are so limited, like limited self, we don't connect it to all of us. We just see, oh, my failures, my little victories and things. But then when we see vastness of it, that we are all in it together, then each aspect that I touch is helpful, and creates ripples, since we are just in a collective consciousness. Yeah, so that was a very wide perspective.
So actually, what you're saying is the one who first thought,
Thought,
or the people who, so it's not even, they might not have even done
tried it.
anything, right?
Yes,
Just the
yes.
thought that,
Yeah,
can I fly? Is it
yeah,
possible?
yeah.
So, and that hits some collective thing, right?
Yes,
That
yes.
thought.
Yeah.
I remember when we were little, my father used to say that if you can imagine something, know that it's happening somewhere, like the worst and the best. Like if it's otherwise, it cannot be part of your imagination if it's not a possibility. So it was quite bad also, because sometimes you think of dreadful things, right? That
No,
I
mother
remember I
says,
got
no,
scared.
exactly. What dreadful things, mother says that we are always surrounded by the things we imagine or think of. So it can be actually very scary, because if I'm imagining something scary, please go ahead. Yeah.
No, no, I was done. Yeah, exactly. That
You were giving some example of this dreadful something.
no, no, I just this was it, that I was kind of getting scared. I got scared. Oh my God, my mind thinks of so many things, and they are true. Like, I don't want them to be true. Mm.
And now parallelly we can see that if we are thinking of the mother, Shri Aurobindo, Champak Lalji, so we are surrounded by them. Yeah.
Mhm. One captain started sharing about how you in the circus. I was just visualizing or trying to just, when he was talking, feel that, okay, one thing is I'm doing these acrobats knowing that there's a net, right? So the maximum that will happen is I'll fall on the net, and I'm okay with that, because I think I'm sure they would practice following first, right? Because when we teach a child how to cycle or skate, I remember the first thing I taught my son was that how will you fall? First, tell me that, right? That you're losing your balance. Learning to fall is the first step, but sorry, I just digressed. Now, knowing that there is no net because people perform without nets, then how's that possible? Because when I know there's a net, even if I know I won't have to use it, there is that security, right? That I do it full total freedom, that there's a net. Say people, there was this person who rope walked on the Twin Towers. So as in when they showed it in the movie and the book and stuff, it was like that he's just into the thing, right? Like fully there. Like falling is not his thing, because what he's doing, there's so much rust in it, so much joy, so much a part of his existence, That fall kind. So again, but what I was reflecting was that, like you was said about the ditch, right? That even if I fall, it's fine. Like, that connection with the higher, knowing that, okay, I cannot not do this for whatever reason. So without net, and it's like a symbolism of life too, right? Like we are kind of living without nets, right? So if we have that relation with the divine or with something higher, how it all becomes a joy, right? That he's holding me, right? So just that so
Yeah. You
beautifully
know,
one can live. Yeah.
on this exactly, we can actually elaborate what Sri Aurobindo talks about, that the mind should be so vast and supple that it should be able to take two opposing views and synthesize, create a synthesis around it.
Mm.
So they call it thesis and antithesis. And then you create a synthesis around the thesis and antithesis. So you said, or what we were sharing, that uh, one can say that there is a net, and one can actually say that no, there is no net.
Mm.
And when we
Mm.
actually explore these two opposing kind of views, just seemingly opposite, before we begin to dig into the exploration, actually it will turn out that they are both talking about the same thing. Because when I am saying that there is a net, then I'm just feeling like safe, that even if I fall, I'm taken care of, right? And when I'm saying that there is no net, then even then it's like a free fall, you can't hit. So even then you are taken care of. You are just falling, but there is no place where you are going to hit the ground. So it's a free fall, and that can be equally called as a net, that you are taken care of. So this is how, that when you were sharing, it just came to me that this exact thing can be used for thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Yeah.
So I think this is, I mean, we have already kind of touched upon this in the last passage. And I also like, how she says that between a dog and a cat, like it's so extreme that there's no even, because oftentimes we mistake, right? We mistake spirituality, yoga with the religion. And yeah, so it's very clear. And so anytime anything becomes fixed, it has a nomenclature of, okay, this is it, like say here religion, and otherwise everything else is life.
Yeah.
So
This also reminds that how Mother and Sri Aurobindo, in their responses to many, many people, uh, I think Nirodha had this question that at times you just say something, respond to something, and then in another letter you are just saying its opposite. How can that be true? So there we see that how there cannot be any one particular formula, because so many interplay of different forces, different characters, that even Mother and Sri Aurobindo, I think either it was Mother or Sri Aurobindo, where they said that don't show these letters and responses out, to people, because otherwise they can actually mistake them for a dogma, that oh, this is what Mother said. But Mother said in that particular context to that particular person, and that would keep on changing even with that particular person. The person may be same, but if the context changes, then Mother may give another different, opposing reply. So yeah, there we see that how, yeah, careful one has to be not to stick to any one particular thing. Yeah.
so should we take the next passage or should we stop here now?
Yeah, I think if it's longer one, then how we can stop also. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, up to all of us. I don't know. Yeah.
I think we can read it at
Yeah.
least,
Yeah.
and then because if
Yeah.
we do have 5 minutes, so if anybody is willing, otherwise I'll read it.
Read this is Sri Aurobindo's teaching and religion. Many people say that the teaching of Sri Aurobindo is a new religion. Would you say that it's a religion? People who say that are fools and don't even know what they're talking about. You only have to read all that Sri Aurobindo has written to know that it is impossible to base a religion on his works because he presents each problem, each question in all its aspects, showing the truth contained in each way of seeing things. And he explains that in order to attain the truth, you must realize a synthesis which goes beyond all mental notions and emerge into a transcendence beyond thought. I repeat that when we speak of Sri Aurobindo, there can be no question of teaching nor even of a revelation, but of an action from the Supreme. No religion can be founded on that. But men are so foolish that they can change anything into a religion. So great is their need of a fixed framework for their narrow thought and limited action. They do not feel secure unless they can assert this is true and that is not. But such an assertion becomes impossible for anyone who has read and understood what Sri Aurobindo has written. Religion and yoga do not belong to the same plane of being, and spiritual life can exist in all its purity only when it is free from all mental dogma.
Yeah, thank you so much, Captain. I'm glad we took it because it's so much in resonance with what we were discussing that it feels like a natural next thing. Yeah. So, any reflections? So, the passage title is Sri Aurobindo's Teaching and Religion. I like the strong words that I use, that are often used, that we need to hear actually. Yes, please. I was just saying. And you please go
This
ahead.
reminded me that I don't know, in some compilation, maybe in this one or which one, I can't remember. I read that mother saying that do not mistake these words as words. These
Huh.
are,
Yeah.
is it here in
Yeah,
this
yeah,
one?
yeah, yeah. It's in Sunlit part. Do not mistake my words for mere words. They are a force in action. Something like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Is it in the
I
starting?
think. It's in the starting only.
This one,
Yeah, here.
yeah.
No? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I got reminded of this when we were reading this.
Yeah. So it says that do not take my words for a teaching. Always they are a force in action, uttered with a definite purpose, and they lose their true power when separated from that purpose.
Mm.
So, whenever I feel a bit stuck or a bit of friction with something, instead of feeling that, oh, the person I'm not resonating with, or, he this doesn't seem okay. The thing is that I am not able to grasp the full thing because there's no other way around it. So, yeah. But we like limited. We like, it's very rightly said that because it boggles us, right? That how can I not understand? This understanding has become so big, but that's not how it always was, right? Like about say that we were discussing that, Shravan, Manan, Nidhasan. That was how it always was, right? That listen, think about it, reflect on it, but now this, I think this passion of just I get it, I get it, I get it, right? Like, don't you get it? It's so big that we don't give the things that need time. Everything is not instant, but in this world of, instant everything, either I get it or I just say, oh, it doesn't, it makes no sense. Just leave it.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
think it's very nice. Yeah, the art of hanging in between, neither here nor there. Yeah.
Hey, can I just say something? Just wanted to add one thing. So, when we talk about religion, there is something like um, the intermediate layers of reality, like the vital layer, the subtle physical, and all the forces and beings and entities, powers, all the higher mental beings like Indra and all these personification of powers in these different regions. So when it comes to like religion, it kind of deals with these things as well. And what that means is that it may not be like, obviously it's not like about whether you can call it rigidity, because you can call it by different names. Like you can say that Indra is god of light or god of mind, or in Greek it could be called something else, XYZ. But it is a power, it is a presence, it has a particular characteristic. If you get in connection with it, there is a certain pact that you can make with it, certain force that you can find within yourself, etc. So yes, there is some like when you talk about religion as a wider term, it's like it has degraded into something which we see today as like some ceremonial, outward, superficial kind of a process where you're just like doing puja and all that kind of nonsense. But in behind it, there are some forces and powers which are actual powers, and to invoke them, there are certain vibrations, there are certain things that are kind of like have to be exact and precise, and all the details um, have to be found. That's what Mother said once in the agenda, that it would be kind of really good if somebody also knows the details of the occult layers. And if you know that in precision, and all the elemental details, all the pranic details, everything, then that would kind of help you out a lot in terms of manifestation. Maybe not in terms of if you just want to go to the highest, or maybe that going to the highest will automatically reveal that to you. That's another aspect as well. But the intermediate layers and their details are something which religions do cover, although these days it's been maybe it's lost that power, or it's been hidden behind something else. It's been oversimplified.
Yeah, thank you, Arpit. Alokda shares in his talks, uh, because whenever he gives talks, somehow the way he tells a story is very like expansive view he gives. Even Dr. Sumitra Basu, I mean, he gives a view that we are just gone with the view many a times. So I think listening to these words by Alokda or Dr. Sumitra Basu, we realize that, oh my God, like there is, as you were sharing, that each step, and he does not disregard anything. I see, that even rituals, then he talks about that how rituals and pujas and all of them had at their, when they originated, they had a specific, as you were sharing, some occult purpose. and slowly over time, kind of they only the shell, the covering was left, but the truth inside was like lost, but he shares very deeply about these things. I think his talks are quite revelatory, that how each thing had a purpose. And I think he shares something like that, how these rituals, they helped protect the truth. When in the beginning, like in the time of Vedic rishis, there were also like asuras and other people who could use the truth for wrong reasons. So how Vedic rishis that shed that, for example, we want cows, give us some cows. And actually, if you look into the nomenclature or etymology, cows is actually meaning light. Go is coming from Sanskrit word, and he shares that it is light. So they were actually talking about light and truth, while asuras are saying, oh, cows, they're wanting cows, just give them the cows. So how, like in those times, the truth needed to be protected, and that's why they were using like ritualistic things which preserved the truth. But then he shares, Alokda, again I'm just rephrasing him, that he shares that now is the age of direct meaning. So that's why teenagers, or youth, young people we have, and they are just wanting to know, okay, you have told the story, but what is the story saying? Tell me the meaning, tell me the essence. So now is the age of direct truth. And that's why Alokda shares that, uh, for example, Sri Aurobindo mother, they did not use many stories and hide the truth in the stories. Only couple of stories were mother's original ones that she used. So explaining something to us. So I think it's like really so expensive, even the rituals and the other things, that then we realize, oh my God, everything had a purpose. So can't disregard anything. Yeah.
So, like, okay, one thing I just wanted to say is that, so yeah, like when you talk about like not hiding the facts behind rituals, that's actually for the common man, like the people who are not initiated, kind of, because, or like people who can misuse them. But it's not for the asuras. Asuras are actual powers in the higher realms. These are the powers that you are actually talking about. These are the things that you want to invoke. So those are like already there. But yeah, I mean, like if somebody is not ready to hear something, and it's like you don't want to give out knowledge to people who are not ready for it, sort of a thing. So of course, and when Mother and Sri Aurobindo, like they've said a lot of things, but I think what they've said is just 1% of things which they haven't said. That's also a fact, because if you look at it, I mean, like there's so many things which Sri Aurobindo hasn't said. He hasn't said anything about the future. He's given us, I mean, things which are more of a general kind of a thing, or maybe more of a synthesis, or from a higher level. But the specific details, he hasn't revealed them. Even the records of yoga, they burnt it out, some of the things which he noted down.
Yeah, any last reflections? Anyone, any comments?
I think just on the last para here, again, this need for a fixed framework or need to always have this is right, this is wrong, moral, unmoral, or whatever the opposite of moral is. I think this is just something that one can always keep listening, right? Because this is a place where we keep getting stuck that, yes, I know, I know, I know, I know. Even while reading Sri Aurobindo and Mother, I think we can have this feeling that, while the other religions have said this, they are so superior. We can have this kind of thing that, see, they are so encompassing and all. And again, if it's said in gratitude, that's great. And yet, I can have this thing that I know because I am following them. So just there is no I know, and there's no security needed for me, right? That it's like I am so used to justifying what I'm doing and how everything is a means to an end here too, because I want to justify my path, my time spent to everybody and to myself. I want to know these I knows, and these are the books I've read, and these are the things I've done. So just recognizing that whenever I'm doing it, because I keep doing it, I keep getting those things that, okay, yes, did, check. That's my childishness, my foolishness. And I might be drawn to a fixed framework, always a simple question, a simple answer. Everything needs to have a reason, and yet we know, reason has its limits, of course. And whenever I'm looking for a framework, a box, a Lakshman Rekha, that's my narrow thoughts and limited action, and I can let go. And this need for security, I think, again, it's a very beautifully touched point, that they do not feel secure. I do not feel secure unless I know that I'm following the truth, I'm doing this, and, yes, this is the best. And no, it's not the best. It may not be the best, but I don't know how not to do this is a different thing, right? There's a choicelessness that I cannot not believe. I cannot not read because I don't have that choice anymore. No reason. No reason.
I think this line is also very beautiful. But such an assertion becomes impossible for anyone who has read and understood what Sri Aurobindo has written. So I think this is also referring to what the choicelessness in a different way. That it's like I don't have now the capacity to separate and divide and fall into cultist mentality, because again it's as if it's a different dimension that one has the possibility of truly entering if one truly gets in touch with these, the force that is in action through their words. Yeah. And I think it's very like uh, how we say, we have this bargaining, transactional, categorical mind which somehow remains the same even when I enter the spiritual path. It's the same categorical mind which is highly insecure of itself. And I think the game has changed, but it's just the same game going on in a different garb now. So to see that, for me, nothing has changed. And also to me, what was coming here is that, usually whenever we talk of narrowness, it's the other people I see who are narrow. So how I think we can connect here mother's wisdom, that mirror aspect, that whatever we see, if we are shocked to see something in the other, that very thing is, I can be very, very sure, in any relative degree, is present in me. So if I come across some narrowness and become agitated or restless or, pointing fingers, I can be very sure that it's there in some degree or greater, lesser degree in me. So to work upon that narrowness. Yeah.
So the last line, whenever I feel I'm stuck, whenever I feel this feeling that, yes, this is it, know that I'm fixing myself or something,
Yeah.
because nothing can be, this is it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's religious, that's not yoga, that's not life, that's just me.
Sure.
Free from all mental dogma. Like whenever there's mind involved
Hmm.
into making lists and the justifications.
I think this relates very well with what we study, with Jetsunma, how to not stick tightly to our ideas, opinions, thoughts, feelings, and that's what, in other words, we see here, that not to stick tightly. And again, she reminds us that hold your thoughts very gently, loosely, not like take them so solid and rigid. Yeah, it
So
helps.
when you had said that we reach us earlier, we are arguing, right? And we have discussed this before. We are arguing that you and me, different. Then we reach a space that okay, let's agree to disagree,
Mm,
right? And
mm,
then there's a space that knowing that okay, my thought also changes, your thought also
mm,
changes. So
mm,
there's no even disagreement, right?
mm,
That is also right.
mm.
That is all. This is also right, and
Yeah,
that thing that
yeah,
yeah, it's beautiful to even touch that space and know
yeah.
that it exists
Yes.
even occasionally.
Yeah, yeah, very true. We have that famous story of, I think, Buddha, Ananda and Buddha, where I think there are a couple of disciples of Buddha and they're talking about some view. And then one person comes and asks Buddha that, that person says this thing, is that right? Something like that. And he says, yes, that's
Mm,
right.
yeah.
And then another person says almost the opposite of it. And then again asks Buddha, is that right? And Buddha says, yes, you're right. And I think it's Ananda who is watching the Buddha, that, and then he comes and says, but how can they both be right? Can they both be right? And he says, yes, you are right too. So funny. Yeah. Yes, Sujata ji, you want to share something? Yeah, unmute, please, unmute. You're muted. You're muted.
I had some work in the kitchen. I couldn't participate in it proactively, but I was listening to the whole thing, and I'm glad that I could do that at least. Always look forward to these discussions.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks.
so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
I
So
was
Yes.
we end the
I was
session.
telling my husband how young we have such young girls teaching us the path of divine, and he was also amazed. Thank you so much for being there for us.
Thank you. I think it's all Mother's grace. Thank you. Thank you for your blessings. Priyanka, you want to add on something?
Not add on, just a perspective, what you all have said. And the thing that is coming to mind, that had been coming to my mind, we were talking about rigidity. And I felt, yes, it is important, yet not important. So to be flexible in our rigidity, how paradoxical it is that to be rigid, yet flexible. To have a framework, to have guidelines is important, but yet to understand that it is just a means, not the end. And so just wanted to say that. I think we have reiterated this, and I'm not saying anything new. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think there is some mother's lines also on something similar what you just shared, where she shares that like be ready to follow something like really like a discipline, and then be ready to just let go of it
Yeah.
also. So what you were
Yeah.
sharing, something like that, I've read. Yes.
Yeah.
Makes.
So
Mm.
when we say I can't do this, or मैं ऐसी ही हूँ, yeah, this is uh, I think we are limiting when we are just so rigid about it. And to be able to fall our own personality that we have made, to let that fall, to let that dispense, to dissolve, if we can do that, yet have this physical body, this matter, and yet make it flexible in our thoughts, because it is not just this body, we are this mind too. And that's where we can work. Yeah. We are working. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. So before we end, let's take one last moment as we take, just to share the merit with everyone, all the sentient beings, May we all have peace at heart and lots of joy and progress in life. Sharing our merit with everyone. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.